to the Steve Bannon, Breitbart, alt-right, the right-wing base, he kept a campaign promise. And I suspect that most of those voters didn't follow much of the back and forth once the big piece of the news was actually out there.
Well, and that's their argument, right? Their argument is we said we were going to do this, and Donald Trump has done this on a number of different issues. He said during the campaign, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to build the wall. We're going to stop people from coming in who might be dangerous to us. And he has done these executive orders. But their counter argument to the pushback and all of the people who we saw come out pretty spontaneously to protest this, lawyers who came in to defend people who were being held, is this is a small number of people. And we heard it last night. If you watch the SAG Awards, the Screen Actors Guild Awards, a lot of people had a lot to say, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and here's what Ashton Kutcher said.
Good evening, fellow SAG-AFTRA members and everyone at home, and everyone in airports that belong in my America. The fabric of who we are, and we love you and we welcome you.
One of many, Karen, but here's the thing. I mean, here's what a supporter of the president would say. One is that those are left coast liberals who don't understand what's going on in the real America, and we haven't seen polls that suggest what the real reaction to this is. Their feeling is that their base and beyond feel like if this is going to help keep America safe, they're okay with it. And there's another potentially unintended consequence, which is that when those people out there that the White House would say are real America watch the SAG Awards, it reinforces to them that the liberal, left coast, east coast folks frankly don't get what it is to be a real person in this country.
Well, or that, those people, and by that I mean the left coast type people, or the Democrats or liberals, that we look down on them and that we don't understand their concerns or their values. I agree with you completely, and I think one of the things that's so important for Democrats, not just in this fight, but going forward, of course, what he did is immoral and un-American, and we need to make those arguments. We need to pursue the legal arguments in terms of what this means about the Constitution, and certainly on behalf of people who have green cards and just, the overall immigration policy. Absolutely do all of that. But we also have to do
deals that don't put America's interests first. The president will continue to negotiate new, better trade agreements that will bring jobs back, increase American wages, and reduce our trade deficit. The White House Office of Intergovernmental Affairs has been hard at work making sure that all lines of communication are open at all levels of government throughout the country. As of today, the White House has made contact with all governor's office in every state and territory, and deeper dive conversations on a range of issues have already taken place with 32 governors or their offices. Outreach efforts have touched 22 of 50 state attorney generals, 32 of 50 states secretaries of state, 16 speakers of the House, the leaders of the 10 largest federally recognized tribes, and the leaders of some of the country's largest counties and municipalities. All have expressed enthusiasm about working with the White House on issues impacting their local communities and families. The Intergovernmental Affairs Office is also preparing for the National Governors Association meeting in Washington at the end of February, at which the president plans to host a dinner. Today, the president started his day with a breakfast and listening session with small business leaders. A list of attendees is available if you're interested. The meeting comes on the heels of similar listening sessions that the president held last week with some of the country's top business and union leaders and frontline workers. He's made it clear in his first week in office through numerous executive actions, meetings, and listening sessions that he's fully committed to fighting on behalf of American workers and small businesses. This morning, the Vice President hosted a breakfast with King Abdullah II of Jordan at the Naval Observatory, and the President expects to greet the King this Thursday at the National Prayer Breakfast. The Vice President thanked the King for his efforts in advancing peace and stability in the Middle East, and reaffirmed the United States' commitment to Jordan's security and economic development. The two leaders discussed events in the region, including ways to accelerate the coalition's effort to defeat ISIS and promote a political solution to the Syrian conflict. The Vice President welcomes the King's views on potential changes involving the U.S. Embassy in Israel and reiterated that the United States is at the early stages of this decision-making process. The two leaders also discussed how to best make progress towards a comprehensive agreement between Israel and the Palestinians. The Vice President and King Abdullah agreed on the importance of continuing to strengthen the U.S.-Jordan relationship and pledged to stay in close contact about events in the region. Also this morning, the President signed an executive order reducing regulation and controlling regulatory costs. The order instructs the Director of Office of Management and Budget to issue guidelines that for every one new regulation, 2 existing regulations in an agency be eliminated. We're calling it 1 in, 2 out. Additionally, the order states that the cost of all new regulations finalized in fiscal 2017 must be no greater than 0 for each agency. And beginning in 2018, each agency will have an incremental cost cap set by the Director of OMB, beyond which it cannot issue regulations. This executive order is the first step in the President delivering on his promise to slash bureaucratic red tape that is choking our nation's small businesses. Under the President's leadership, the federal government would no longer punish Americans for working and doing business in the United States. Every year, overregulation costs our economy billions of dollars and reduces the wealth of every American household. This executive order will help get the economy back on track and is part of the President's bold plan to create 25 million new American jobs in the next decade. It's worth noting that this order is perhaps the most significant administrative action in the world of regulatory reform since President Reagan created the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs in 1981. Finally, a few administrative notes. I'm pleased to announce that Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel will visit the United States on February 15th. Our relationship with the only democracy in the Middle East is crucial to the security of both our nations, and the President looks forward to discussing continued strategic, technological, military, and intelligence cooperation with the Prime Minister. As you know, tomorrow at 8 p.m., the President will announce who he intends to nominate for the Supreme Court. And for a party preaching tolerance, it's interesting to see some Democrats have already come out against this unnamed individual. So with that, I'd be glad to take a few questions.
Sean?
Yeah, try.
Sean, over the weekend, President Trump requested that the King of Saudi Arabia join him by supporting safe zones in Syria.
Right.
What type of support does President Trump intend to provide, and when can Syrian civilians expect to receive this support?
Well, I think it came up in several of his calls, and that's an important note that there is such strong agreement with how we address this problem, and you're seeing it from across the spectrum. It's important that we have stability in the region, and I think that the idea that this was an area of mutual discussion and agreement is important to talk when we talk about stability in the region, and so we'll have continued discussions on it, but I think that first step of getting both sides on the first page was a huge step forward. Blake.
Thanks, Sean. The President said today in that on-camera session with the business leaders talked about how the market has run up during the last couple of months. I want to ask you a question related to that. Today, coincidentally, happens to be the biggest market drop since October. And one of the uncertainties for investors is that tax reform might not get done this year. So my question to you is, can the administration commit to major tax reform in 2017?
Well, it's a two-way street. And I think that you've seen a commitment from the President to fight on behalf of small businesses. That's what this regulation thing was today. I mean, it really can't underscore how important it is. Since 1981, we haven't seen anything of this magnitude to address the regulatory impact that small businesses face. We're going to continue to work with both houses of Congress, both the Senate Finance Committee and the House Ways and Means Committee, to develop a comprehensive tax plan. And I think that there's eagerness on behalf of Congress to do that as well. So that is a very promising thing. But I would also note that when you look not just at